Hi everybody who's watching. Welcome to the student show. So it has been quite a long time. It's been since November, hasn't it, since our last show? So how's everyone been?
We've all aged. We've got wrinkles.
Oh God, don't get me started with dark circles.
They're older.
Sleepless nights doing revision. So my name's Lucy, for anybody that doesn't know already. I'm a third year of 4 Podiatry Apprentice studying at the University of East London.
And how have you been, Lucy, since last time we saw you?
Sorry. Yeah, I've been good. I've absolutely smashed my modules last term. We've started pharmacology and the research modules as well this term, and then next term we're going to have a nice lovely placement. So yeah, it's all been really good, thanks.
Good.
Brilliant. So hi everybody, hopefully you all remember me. I'm Sophie Bennett from the University of Southampton. So I'm a year 2 student. So yeah, I survived both placements and I did quite well with my exams. I think it was probably about November. I got accepted into the social impact lab that's run by my university, and I proposed for education. I can't speak about it too much, but like a tour around Southampton, and it's been approved for £1,000 to develop the idea. So I've currently got 2 bookings already. And it's probably for about 200 to 500 people. So hoping to make a big impact of it. So I'm quite excited. Already started my dissertation in the project protocol stage. And that's quite interesting. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to talk about what it's about. So there we go. And I've just started chronic conditions. And yeah, we've got the research project. Yeah, that's everything that's going on with me. Got a half marathon in a few weeks' time. Hopefully I survive it.
Wow. Wow. We've got my sister Gaia, who's usually with us, but she's actually studying at the library, but she has done a little video for us to tell us what she's doing at the moment. So if Michael wants to play that.
Hello, my name is Gaia Holmes and I'm a second year podiatry student at Salford University. Just want to apologise that I can't make it tonight as I'm at the library. Quick update on second year. I've been at placement all day and I've seen lots of interesting topics and treatments, and I'm currently doing my critical appraisal. I've picked the topic of the comparison of VAC therapy, which is a therapy using negative pressure to heal a diabetic foot ulcer, and comparing that with a simple saline dressing. There's quite a lot of research on it. I chose this because I'd never heard of vacuum therapy before until I'd started placement, and seeing diabetic foot ulcers in the high-risk multidisciplinary team, and I found it really, really interesting. And that's about it. Just very, very busy, and again, apologies that I can't make it tonight. Take care. Bye.
Oh, that sounds so interesting.
Yeah, God, I live with her. I didn't even know all
that. Amazing.
Yeah, I'm really proud of her. My name's Freya Holmes and I'm Gaia's sister. I'm a final year student at Salford University. And oh God, I don't know where to start. I've got so much to tell you all. I've got 3 modules at the moment. I've got my dissertation, and my dissertation topic that I've chosen is what are the motivators and barriers of an ankle brachial pressure index for podiatrists. And I've really enjoyed doing my dissertation, finding the papers for it. So I've completed half of it, and it's the half has been marked, and I passed it, which is good. So I've got another half to do, and then I've got to make a business plan for a private practice, which I'm finding terribly hard because I've got no business skills.
Come talk to me about that because I smashed mine.
Oh, Lucy, I'll be coming to you. I'll be coming to you because I'm really struggling.
I'll come to both of you next year because I do it then.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think with my mum having her own private practice, like, she can help me, but I don't know, I'm still struggling with it. And then I've got one last practical presentation, which is just about it's just about a case study from placement that we pick. What else have I got? I'm on my block placement at the moment, which is like a 5-week block placement, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. And I'm in the high-risk clinic, so I'm in the multidisciplinary team, working with ulcers, Charcot, MSK patients, nail surgery. Like it runs from like everything at Salford Trust. It's a really, really good block placement. And then lastly, I've just got a job over in Australia working for a private practice on the Sunshine Coast, which is really, really, exciting. So I'm moving over there in August. So the visa application's been processed at the moment, and they're sponsoring me to go and move over there for 2 years. So yeah, very, very happy.
Oh, well done.
Please send us pictures.
I will do. But yeah, the countdown's happening, because I've only got 8 more weeks left of this degree. So each week is a day closer to finishing it.
Do you find like our degree's gone by so quickly?
Yeah, very, very fast.
It doesn't feel like I'm more than halfway through. No. It's crazy.
And I feel like very proud of all of us. Like I keep saying to like people in my sister's year, my year, like you two, like I think we should all be so proud of how hard we've got for even passing first year, second year, and now nearly third year.
That's mental, isn't it?
Proud of us. Yeah.
And what we can do as well is I was just trying to think of a lead on, but I'm just going to stop and start a brand new conversation. We've got Leah from Flexitol going to talk to us about sponsoring our Tomorrow's Podiatry Awards this year. I think we have something from Leah.
Okay, I think unfortunately Leah hasn't been able to join us, so I'm going to just step in for a second and introduce us, and then we're going to bring in the amazing Liam McManus, who's going to talk about some of the fantastic work he's been doing in promoting podiatry to runners. But you're absolutely right. Really excited to be launching the 2023 Tomorrow's Podiatry Awards. I know you guys have all been involved last year with the judging of them, which was amazing. And in Sophie, we have an award winner from last year, as the Student Leadership Award was there. But the Flexitol Tomorrow's Podiatrist Awards are a set of awards that are there to recognise those that inspire students and those students that really go that extra mile. And we've got 6 fantastic awards that are there for people. We've got 3 awards that are based for pre-registration students. So that's the Student of the Year. So that's open to all students studying a pre-registration course. So that's the Podiatry Apprenticeship, Lucy. Those doing the undergraduate course, and those also doing the master's course, which I realise is the only bit that's not represented tonight. So anybody that's in there is able to be nominated either for the Student Leadership Award or the Student of the Year Award. We've also got the Society of the Year of the Award. So that's for anybody that's got a PodSoc or Podiatry Society at their university. Put it forward. There you go, I see. In fact, just in the process of organising one up with amazing GCU as well. So hopefully you'll have some competition there, Sophie, for this year. Freya, I'm not sure if Salford has one, but...
Salford doesn't have one. There needs to be one.
There you go. Too late.
You need to start one. You've got 8 weeks.
How busy you are. A bit late for it now. Sorry, Sophie. You were saying.
Gaia can do it. She's got another year.
There you go. So yeah, great opportunity there. And that's at the moment being split between QMU and Southampton, and Northampton. So the 3 previous winners. So it'd be great to have some new winners there. And then we've got 3 other awards, one which is for the Research Student of the Year. So that's for any podiatrist that's studying a higher degree. So that can be a master's or a PhD. So if you know somebody that you think deserves to be nominated for that, then do put them through. And then finally, we've got 2 awards which are only nominatable by students, pre-registration students. And that is for the Educator of the Year and the Inspirational Podiatrist of the Year. So the Educator of the Year is for everybody that's involved in your education. So if you're out there and you've got somebody that really helps you understand what's going on, or, it can be a clinical tutor, it can be a lecturer, it can be a practice educator somewhere that's out there in private practice or in the NHS that's really helped bring the subject to life, then brilliant. And the inspirational podiatrist of the year is for that person that brings you in and makes you really want to understand a part of podiatry. Now, that could be podiatry as a whole, or it could be an aspect of it. I know, Freya, you've often talked about, and I saw those lovely photos of you during the month about spending time with Martin Fox. I know that I have a suspicion, Sophie, that you're actually going to go and be visiting Liam later in the year. So anybody that you think there is an inspiration to you, do it. These are great chance to let people know just how much and how important they've been to your journey as a student. They're a great way of recognizing that. But also what we like to do is we send a little bit of the nomination through to them. And the number of times people come back, and even if they've not made it onto the shortlist or one, they love just hearing that they've made a difference or that they've inspired you. So it's a great way of saying a little thank you to people and passing on those details. The awards wouldn't be possible, as you mentioned, Sophie, without the fantastic and generous support of Flexitol. But if you do want to find out more, 2 things to do. Go onto the website, tomorrowspods.com/awards. And on there, you'll find details of the awards, including the criteria for each award, and also a little bit of advice on how to build it. Now, if you're not sure how to write a nomination, it's not always easy. So I know it's sometimes a bit scary. We have a nomination builder that takes you through those criteria and gives you a little bit of advice on how to write them up. And it takes you through that process. So do go out and check it out. You can find out some of the previous winners, including Sophie, on there, and some more of the details as well. So do go and check it out. They have a fantastic set of awards. And Freya, as I'm sure you've been finding out when applying for jobs, having something that helps set you apart from somebody else, a fantastic way of being able to just add a little bit to your CV.
It'd be really good if you did win an award, because obviously if someone's reading about 20 podiatry student CVs, you want someone that's just something different, that you've won an award or you've taken part in tomorrow's podiatry, just something that's sets you apart from others.
Or even that you've been nominated, because that's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. I remember when I went to the conference and people coming up to me, and I was like, "Oh my God, I follow you on Twitter. You're my pod hero," and they're like, "Oh, well done," and you're like, "Oh my God, you're talking to me." It's crazy.
That's nice.
And
Martin Fox wanted a selfie, and he's like, "I keep these."
And you also I have to say, I hope a fantastic little a little award as well, which are beautiful little
It's beautiful.
handmade.
It really is.
So if you want to find out more,
I still remember. Yeah, I still remember when I won, because I thought, no way. So I'd gone to the Isle of Wight, and then I was coming back home, and I was just walking off the ferry. I was like, oh my God, I just said my name. It's crazy.
And you never know where it will lead, because Sophie, you're now here as a result, and previous winners of the Student of the Year have gone on to do PhDs, having not thought about it previously, and we've got a whole range of it. But it's also a great way of saying thank you to those people that helped get you there as well. And you were just talking about how hard it is over the 3 years or 4 years if you're in Scotland, and it's a great way of being able to just say a little thank you to people. So yeah, go out and check out the details. It's www.tomorrowspods.com/awards. We'll pop that link up onto there, and at the end of the show we'll be showing a little video which Sophie does feature in as one of last year's winners. So fantastic. And once again, thank you to Flexitol for all their support over the last 5 years. I mean, I can't believe we're already into the 5th year, so it's fantastic. But what I shall do, Sophie, is I shall leave you to peace and quiet and let you there, and I'll let you introduce the wonderful guest that you have in plan, which is much, much better than me.
Brilliant. So we have the wonderful Liam McManus coming on the show now. Hello, Liam.
Hi, Sophie. Hi, Freya. Hi, Lucy. How are
Hi,
you?
Liam.
All right. Congratulations on the podcast. It's brilliant.
Yeah. Have you been listening to it?
I have, Liam. I
suppose.
need to listen.
Honestly, I will now put Vaseline in my socks now when I'm running. It's going to help, I think.
There you go. That was the toes episode, wasn't it? Obviously.
Oh, yeah. I can just feel it. I'm thinking, I've got to get these miles in, but you can just feel it in your feet thinking, oh, no. When I take those shoes off, and they're slightly on the small side, but they're near the end, so I will get some big ones.
No, absolutely. But for anyone watching, I basically teamed up with a lady called Jennifer Falconer, who's the Smooth Radio DJ. And she runs a really successful podcast called Run Pod. And it's not Run Podiatry. It's literally just Run Podcast. So it's a Run Pod.
Oh, it sounds like podiatry.
Doesn't it? It should be
I think we should
really
hijack
intertwined,
it.
right?
We should hijack it, definitely. Take
Well,
over.
for the next 8 episodes, it is all about feet, and so I've
Taking
really
over.
there's about 280 episodes, and so there's people like kind of my heroes really in the football world, like John Terry and some rugby heroes and things like that on there, and then there's me on there, kind of talking about feet and podiatry and how we can really proactively help runners with feet, obviously conditions, ingrown toenails, fungal nails, verrucas, things like that, as well as commonalities like plantar fasciitis and Achilles tendinopathies, and how we can prevent obviously injuries through gait analysis, rehab, and that kind of thing. So really trying to promote podiatry and get our profession out there.
Amazing. I think that's the most important part, Liam, is promoting what a podiatrist is, because still to this day, no one knows what we are and no one appreciates what we do. I think that's
we deal with children, don't we? That's what I've heard a lot.
Yeah, pediatrics, right?
Yeah, we're children's doctors or we're nutritionists.
Well, it's really interesting, actually. A question for you guys. I know I'm on here to answer a few questions that you have, but a question to you guys: what do we need to do as a profession?
Promote.
I demystify what the profession is. Because when you think of physios, people are like, they're the unsung heroes, especially with running as well.
Yeah.
And the thing is that understanding, when is it that bit where they go, "Oh, should I go and see someone about it?" Or is it nothing? It's when it comes to that bit, like it's stopping me doing a certain activity, then I'll need to see someone about it.
Absolutely. I think the key question is, well, what can we do really? Because what I've done, I've gone through, my journey was I got invited by Jennifer Falconer to come on the show. I took a full kind of day off work to prepare for it. I then took another full day to travel into central London to go into the global studios to be wowed by all these people around me and a couple of famous people that I kind of bumped heads with, and then be put under pressure and literally have 4 cameras in front of you, a microphone in front of you. And if you go on our Instagram, which is at SW_podiatry, you'll see everything there. And it's absolutely fantastic. But I always come back to, look, what can we do? And the question is, I don't think the promotion shouldn't really necessarily just come from the HCPs or Royal College of Podiatry. It should be us. We should be kind of getting ourselves out there.
I think as students, especially when I'm on my block placement, I always educate my patients into what we are. I always, if I go out on placement and I bump into physios or any other allied healthcare professional, I always say what a podiatrist is, and we don't just cut toenails. But I think when you say, and then how can we promote what a podiatrist is? I mean, I personally think it needs to be put on the news, or it needs to be put on TV as an advert. There's dentists advertise if to go to a private dentist, and everyone knows if you've got a sore tooth, you go to the dentist.
Yeah.
But if everyone's got a sore foot, they think, oh, let's go to the GP. The GP is going to fix me, because they don't even know what a podiatrist is. So I feel we need to educate people.
What you're talking
and then
about
now
there,
get
Freya,
into first contacts though as well.
Sorry, I just cut you there, Sophie. I might have a bit of a lag my end as well. But sorry, Freya, what you're talking about there is a complete culture shift, isn't it? It's a complete belief shift. And, how long is that going to take? And we need to be patient with this. And we need to be kind of banging at the door of, News of the World or The Sun. And it just takes small movements, similar to what I've done, really, that has a reach of potentially 270,000 people that will listen to that and listen to a musculoskeletal podiatrist talking about ingrowing toenails and how we can deal with surgery or conservative management.
Definitely, it's so important, because even with students, people are just coming to do podiatry as a degree, and they're rocking up and they don't even really know what they're like. Oh, I'm just doing it to get a degree. I'm like, what? How can you even know what you don't know what a podiatrist is?
Yeah, it's difficult though, because look, when I was a young lad, I went to a chiropodist, right?
Yeah.
You know, I'm not that old, but I'm old enough to go to a chiropodist because in previous times we had a diploma in chiropody. So you know,
Definitely.
you had a chiropodist that then had a didn't have POM A, POM S, didn't have LA, but now we've moved
yeah.
on. The problem is that you know, how many people above my age, which is 40 and above, understand that podiatry is the new chiropody and what a podiatrist is. So there's
Yeah.
it's very difficult to
Definitely.
get that message across.
It's hard as well because like my mum, she's a podiatrist as well, but she graduated in like 1988 as well as a chiropodist, but she still calls her private practice, Cockermouth Chiropody Stroke Podiatry, because a lot of her patients are elderly and they don't know what the word podiatrist means, so she still wants to keep it as Cockermouth Chiropody, even though we want to try and stay away from the word, but a
Well,
chiropodist is still a podiatrist, really.
well, you're getting into the realms of kind of Google SEO and things like that. So what do people type into Google to look for a foot problem? You know, so if you've got a corn, a callus, a verruca, an ingrown toenail, they will generally still, and I'll tell you this from being a business owner, they will still put chiropodist near me.
Really?
You know? Yeah, so you can go. I can give you a spreadsheet of the keywords that the vast majority of people search for within the cohort of people that I analyze around my businesses, and yeah, the keywords are simple phrases. So, you know, to the extent of putting gait analysis on there. Well, who's going to search for a term gait analysis? You need to
Not
search
many
for
people.
foot pain solution, or you know, something like that.
It's
Yeah.
interesting you say that because we've had a new administrative team join the building that we work in, and he said he had some foot problems, but actually he Googled foot clinic rather than chiropody, and I don't think he was much older than us three. So I do wonder whether or not, like you were saying, that simplification
Yeah,
is actually making it quite a bit more accessible.
definitely.
Accessible, yeah. I mean, look, if we called our clinics foot and ankle clinics, it's simple, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but then what are we then? Then we're not saying
Well,
then
lower limb specialist, aren't
we're
we?
not educating people that we are podiatrists.
Yeah.
But do you remember like the NHS? I don't know whether it was like a few years ago, but they did like this I can't remember the tagline they did, but it was like a promotional thing to get people training into like orthoptists, occupational therapy, podiatrists, and a few other stuff. Oh, I can't remember what it was. Oh, it was a few years ago though.
It'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Well, I might have to Google that actually. But you know, I found that like with the like a few patients ago, well, I saw a chiropodist and they said this, but I'd rather get a podiatrist opinion. And you're thinking they're the same words.
Yeah, it's honestly it's super interesting. So in my clinic I'm in London, in southwest London, and we have 3D gait analysis, diagnostic ultrasound. We've got injection therapies that we use, and predominantly we're in a musculoskeletal clinic. And effectively, we will get referrals from podiatrists who I know personally who've got a BSc honours or an MSc in podiatry, and they're still referring to them as I've been to see my chiropodist and I've been referred into you for a podiatry opinion. So there's still disparity between kind of what we're telling them and educating as well.
Am I right in thinking that in some countries though, it's chiropody as the protected terminology, and they've shifted away from podiatry and back towards chiropody, whereas in this country we're focusing more on that podiatrist term?
Well,
I know America it came from, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, in this country, we've got two protected titles. We've got chiropodist and we've got podiatrist. But chiropody isn't a protected title because you can't be a chiropody, can you? You know, you can potentially do chiropody and not be a chiropodist. So it's really misleading. But unfortunately, that's the world and playing field we have to live with at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Liam, just going back to about the podcast. How did you get involved with the podcast? Like, how did you get involved with it?
This is not confidential at all, because it actually comes out in the later podcast. But Jenny Falcon is one of my patients, so effectively we discuss the patient journey for her as well in one of the podcasts a little bit later, which is interesting because she didn't really also understand kind of to go to a musculoskeletal podiatrist for a running related ankle problem.
Okay.
So kind of I got invited by her onto this podcast.
Oh, wow.
And we kind of just hit it off really, and it was really interesting. It's just like this, like, you know, being in a room with a friend just talking about feet, and hopefully
was it your first podcast?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, there's all the nerves which come with that as well. I remember getting up at like 5:30 in the morning to make sure I was there. I mean, I'm only half an hour away from it, you know, and it started at about 11 o'clock.
So I really want to listen to some more podiatry podcasts because I quite like a good podcast in the morning. I want to find some good podiatry podcasts.
There are some really good ones out there. One of my colleagues, NK Sports Podiatry, or Nick Knight as well, who's doing some podcasts as well over there. But he's doing his own podcast. This is kind of very much a podcast for runners, for keeping everybody motivated during running. They get guest speakers on, and it's just information really about running. So we covered loads of topics, and it was amazing to be on, but really nerve-wracking at first, and certainly a buzz after when I finished. What you end up doing, you go on for 2.5 hours, and you go into a studio, and there's a couple of people around. There was a lady called Emily who was the producer. And then effectively you start a podcast and then go, right, this is week 1. This is Liam McManus. He's a top podiatrist over in London. We're going to talk about toes today. What can you tell me about X? And then you reel off kind of a lot of information. And then there's a bit of back and forward. There's people kind of asking questions in the audience. And you then kind of have to deal with that on your feet. And then you stop that one, and then you go to the next one, and each one takes about 15 to 20 minutes to record. But actually they've all been pre-recorded, so even though they're going to be released every single Wednesday over the next 2 months, they're already out there, already pre-recorded.
That's good.
That sounds brilliant.
Has the audience who's watching, have they got any questions to ask Liam, or any questions for us?
In the audience.
Or any suggestions for pod audiobooks or podcasts? I like I think it's Pod Chat Live as well. It's always good.
Sarah Jane Wells has just said, we all have a responsibility to educate the public and HCPs on what is it we do. It's up to us all. Yeah, Sarah, it is up to us.
I have so many people when I'm at work, patients and colleagues who don't have anything to do with podiatry, and they're like, what do you even do with feet? Why would you want to do that all day? And I'm like, do you not realise how many bones are in the feet and all what they do and what they can do and what problems can come up if one of them does something not quite right? Oh my God, it's so interesting. And they go, yeah, but is it not gross? And I'm like, it's probably one of the least gross jobs in the world, because if anything, you're making someone who feels quite self-conscious about the feet and feels like they've got a problem or they are in pain. And 90% of the time when they walk out, they go, I feel so much better.
Yeah.
And it's just that instant gratification.
Definitely, Lucy.
I think so.
I've
had a few patients going, if I was younger, I know. Yeah, I've had a few patients that have gone, oh, if I was younger, do you know what? I'd retrain after they've gone, is it just cutting toenails? And I explain how amazing this wonderful profession is. And they're like, oh my God, that's really interesting. And then it's like that nice, like, bouncing ideas. And they're going, oh, so like, what would this be? And yeah, it's just brilliant. I've got a question for you, Liam. What's your thoughts on running or sports shops offering gait analysis versus real gait analysis? Because there are, I know with a lot of like evidence it's a bit murky. It's quite like low quality evidence with the universal language of gait analysis. So everybody's got like a different idea of what would be the optimum thing they'd use. So what's your thoughts?
I hate this one. So in the word gait analysis, if you Google it or look at the Oxford Dictionary version of what a gait analysis is, it's a movement pattern or movement recognition assessment, isn't it? And the problem is that you walk into a shop and they classify a gait analysis as sticking somebody on a treadmill, putting them in a pair of shoes, and just looking at whether they're neutral, supinated, or overpronated. So effectively, they're only looking at one movement in one plane, and that's pronation or supination, or a version of that. So in inversion or eversion in the frontal or coronal plane. So we've got this one axis and one movement that you're just looking at this and this, aren't we? So the words that I'd start with, a gait analysis is in a shop isn't just not a gait analysis. And the problem with that is that they've paid a lot of money sometimes in a shop for 200, 250 pounds for a pair of shoes that aren't necessarily working for them. And I'm coming at it like a bull in a china shop and saying that, look, what you paid for isn't actually a gait analysis. What is a gait analysis is either putting somebody on a treadmill and downloading a software, such as like Dartfish or something like that, that looks at slowing your movement patterns down. And you're looking at everything from head, eyes, shoulders, hips, pelvis, knees, feet, and ankle, all the way down, and putting that into a bit of a report. So that's a gait analysis. It's not a shoe analysis. In our clinic, we have 3D running and walking analysis. So effectively, we're putting markers on people all the way from ASIS, PSIS, all the way down to obviously knee, foot, and ankle. And then we get a system to analyze the movement related patterns. And that again is a gait analysis. So it's us as podiatrists and a profession, and certainly allied health professions, educating people that, when they go into a running shop, you're effectively just having a running footwear assessment.
Do you think it should be a protected term, gait analysis, just in case, because they haven't seen the whole movement and they haven't incorporated like plantar pressures, and then someone that may be a bit vulnerable to shear damage and things like that they should have the term protected, so a qualified podiatrist can give them the correct advice rather than just someone's just been trained to use that gait analysis from the shops. Yeah.
I know where you're going with this, but the problem is with a protected title of gait analysis is that chiropractors, osteopaths, physiotherapists, and other allied health professions, including sports doctors and sports scientists, will all do a version of a gait analysis. So you can't really have a protected title when there's so many people and so much variation of gait analysis. I mean, our 3D analysis system has three Vicon cameras. I was in northern Spain 3 days ago looking at a camera system which has got 7 cameras and 4D analysis. So there's different versions, and this gait analysis was absolutely fantastic. It was for ballet dancers, assessing ballet dancers, spinning around and going.
That's amazing.
Absolutely unreal.
Where was our invite, Liam? Why couldn't we come to Spain?
I could have zoomed you in if it was Thursday last week.
Yeah, I would have been there in Spain.
That was free.
Yeah, honestly, it was unreal. So I was scoping it out really to see what we can bring to the UK market, certainly in my company, Southwest Podiatry, just to see.
With ballet dancers, I feel like ballerinas, they really need podiatrists.
They do. One of our podiatrists, Penny Kay, was a ballet instructor for about 20 years, and she dealt with the Royal Ballet over in London as well. And she will tell us herself, but she didn't really have a good access to podiatry, and probably is wanting to do a little bit more with ballet, certainly ballet dancers and instructors in the future. But no, you're absolutely right. But could you imagine assessing gait in a ballet dancer or tango or anything like that? That's very, very difficult, right?
Yeah, it'd all be different.
100%.
how can you then, thinking about controlling ground force reaction, load, force, torque, it's very, very different, very, very different. But this facility was pretty good. It also had force plates, pressure plates, up to gate. It had different degrees of flooring based on your profession. So if you're a footballer, you get assessed on this flooring. If you're a tennis player, on this one, and a golf player, on this one.
Yeah.
Hmm.
We've just got a comment off Adele Holmes saying a podiatrist can do a gait analysis / assessment without all the gadgets. The gadgets and equipment enhance our assessment.
Yeah,
which is very true.
I would absolutely agree with that until I got 3D gait analysis.
Yeah.
And there are things that I think, right, okay, that hip adduction moment or hip internal rotation moment is certainly excessive, but how much and what by? And I absolutely agree that, I can do a gait analysis, no problem at all. And the vast majority of podiatrists coming out of university can do an excellent gait analysis. But when you then get into the realms of technology and 3D, for example, you can then test and retest. And that retest is really, really, really important, because you don't just retest your own outcomes in terms of rehab, footwear advice, or orthotics. You could retest an orthotic, right? And then you look at your PROMs, so your outcome measures, a MOX-FQ or an EQ5D, and then we can audit ourselves. And this is where we start to prove our profession.
And do you find that having that extra bit of gadget impacts significantly or not so significantly in the different treatments that you can provide? So say like within millimeters in terms of like wedges or like with insoles and stuff?
It's certainly opened my eyes in terms of more proximal control. So, rehabilitation around your hip flexors, glutes, up more kind of towards the hip and knee rather than just foot and ankle. I think I'm probably the first one to tell you that, until I was more experienced in gait analysis and certainly 2D gait analysis, I was predominantly looking at the foot and then how that would impact the lower limb, and not necessarily then looking at the hip and how that's impacting the foot, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. It's like building blocks, isn't it? If one thing's out, my camera's over this way. If it's massive, if one thing's out of knack, the other ones have to compensate, don't they? Up and down.
Yeah, but look, we've also put orthotics in people's shoes, and it's just skewed the results that much that we've removed them, and it's not good for them. So what we believe the orthotic is doing for them in terms of shifting that, for example, center of mass or center of gravity in a certain way to limit, let's say, internal rotation of the tibia or limit internal rotation of the hip, it's not doing that. It's exacerbating it. So again, we can test and then retest and see what we're doing. Is it working?
Are you an MSK pod, Liam?
I love it. I love it. My background, so I qualified about 13, 14 years ago as a podiatrist, and I went into the NHS, went into my diabetic clinics, community as well as acute for about 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And then went into the National Sports Centre over at Crystal Palace for about 4 years, whilst building up a bit of a private practice as well. So at that point, really, I got involved with lots more physiotherapists and allied health professions. And it was, if you imagine one room, 10 plinths, physios just massaging and acupuncture and doing rehab, as well as a podiatrist. It was absolutely fantastic, like shared learning environment, really. And then following that, I joined a company, Southwest Podiatry, and started looking at ways of developing a business, really. So my clinics are in Maidenhead, Earlsfield, and we've got online clinics. We've got NHS contracts to do virtual musculoskeletal podiatry, as well as face-to-face musculoskeletal podiatry as well.
Oh, interesting.
Now, how much, going slightly off topics, but how much would you say exercise has an impact? Because there's some studies that suggest it can take up to about 12 to 16 weeks to have that full optimum pain reduction, and like with tendon strength. So, hang on. If someone had like a tendon, like Achilles tendinopathy, and you prescribed insoles how much would you say the impact of exercise was for like those type of injuries?
Can you
compared to
rephrase
just
that again?
insoles? Yes, I will. Instead of just insoles, how much would you say exercise prescribing had an impact?
On like Achilles tendinopathy, for example.
For example, yeah.
So we only really go to an orthoses with an Achilles tendinopathy if it's mainly insertional. So insertional responds really well to obviously like a heel lift, like a 6 to 8 mil heel lift, plus or minus an orthotic, really, depending on your biomechanical related factors. And then it's mainly rehab, rehab, shockwave therapy, ultrasound scanning, test, retest. In terms of mid-portional Achilles tendinopathy, you're effectively just looking at whether they've got, is this from a biomechanical cause? So why? The first question I'd always ask with a MSK patient is, well, why did this happen to you? And 9 times out of 10, it's because they've increased significantly their load over a short period of time. So people training for the London Marathon in April this year will be really ramping up their mileage. And if you've ever looked at a training plan for a marathon, for example, you're running potentially 4 to 5 times a week. And at this present time, you're doing about a 3-hour run or a 20-mile run. So you're really significantly upping your mileage. Now, other factors around that, so footwear, increased tolerance of the tissue as well, biomechanical related factors. You got excessive movement in different areas, whether that's hip, knee, foot, ankle. So yeah, sorry, that's not a direct answer to your question.
Yeah, I just thought I should have said probably post tib, because I know there's a lot of exercise prescriptions for that as well, isn't there?
Yeah, so tibialis posterior tendinopathies, you got PTTD, for example, stage 1, 2. I would like to say that the majority of patients, and I'd probably say about 95% of my patients, will have an orthotic as first line to just de-stressing that medial ankle. So effectively, you're de-stressing that tib post tendon. And if you put a 4-degree post onto a semi-rigid polypropylene device for a tib post tendinopathy, you start reducing the amount of stress going through that tib post tendon by about 35%. I just want to simplify that further. Every degree you go up, you will reduce it by about 10%. So if you imagine 1, 2, 3, 4 degrees, 35, well, that's about 40, isn't it? So in your head, think, well, if I do a 6 degree, I'm probably going to reduce the amount of load by 60%, etc., etc. The problem is you have to bear in mind with orthotic prescribing is that you reduce the load on the inside, you might put pressure on the outside. So you really have to, get your orthotic dosing, as accurate as possible. But it's also not necessarily it's not necessarily a science as well. Sometimes it's right. Try this, trial this. Can we stay minimum and then go up rather than come down?
Yeah, because you have that area. Do you go too aggressive? Because obviously time is of the essence with that type of disorder. But then you also have if it's too aggressive, is the patient going to be in pain and go, actually, I'm ripping them out? Or it's not aggressive and then it gets worse? Or like, this is taking too long. I paid for this. And it's quite a delicate balance, isn't it?
It's an incredibly delicate balance, actually. Yeah, especially when you're considering that we effectively sell custom-made orthotics, don't we, at £390. So you want to get that prescription as accurate as possible, right? So that's where you might actually start with something like an Interpod or a SlimFlex. We put a post on there to look at how that tissue is responding to the load, and then we start effectively loading them. So we'll start with some isometric exercises. For a tib post tendon, for example, we'll just get people to, in a seated position, just go up onto the tiptoes, holding for 45 seconds, repeat 5 times. Let's see how they do over the next week, bring them back in a week, and then start increasing load as needed. You might do other things around that. So some proximal stuff, some calf stretches, for example, in that short-term period of management. And then you start building up to some eccentrics and then ultimately plyometrics. But your specific question with orthotic therapy and tib post, I always put an orthotic in for any tib post tendon problem as first line treatment to unload the tissue, reduce the pain, and allow me to start loading this tissue. And I'm effectively, I'm unloading the tissue to allow me to load it.
Yeah. It's really interesting because it also, like with health psychology as well, I will admit, when I first started the degree, you don't realize how important health psychology is, especially with I think it was the catastrophizing model. I know there's like been some studies like with shockwave therapy where the effects that the patient has felt hasn't been as high, but I don't know whether it's more not like physiological, but more like mental, like they think, oh, actually this might not work. Or what's your views on like the importance of like that getting sorted with the catastrophizing model to like make sure the patient understands what's happening, what's like they're going to be experiencing in the next few
that's a big one, Sophie, definitely. Like I had my Swift training with my mum's private practice literally yesterday, and we had our training, and that was a big massive thing with it because it takes up to 12 weeks for the results to come through, and you have to have 3 sessions, like 3 courses, and a lot of patients won't be satisfied if they're like, well, I've had 2 courses, why, and I've paid this money, why isn't it not being treated yet? Like, that's a really big thing, like patient satisfaction, and definitely.
Let me come on to that one, Freya. I'm going to go back to your point in a sec, Sophie, because I think if you bring the word mental into your consultation, you're going to get hit with a brick through your window. That kind of biopsychosocial model of pain is absolutely key. But as soon as you start talking about this, it's a really difficult subject and not one that I can cover in a couple of minutes. But if you start talking about this, they will automatically go to, well, you think my pain is in my head. And that is then an issue because you've now got to de-escalate your patient. So there's lots of training courses out there on delivering bad news or delivering pain science to people. And it's really worth getting out there and doing a little bit of reading around it, and certainly some training courses on that. Freya, to your point, I think from a business owner, it's set expectations and manage expectations. And it comes from the language we use. It really does. Swift, for example.
We have to be very like clear and to the point, and we can't lie about anything. We have to tell them everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And bear in mind, is it 5% of everything that you say only gets heard? So it's then having the ability to document it, sticking to our HCPC regulations and Royal College of Podiatry guidance in terms of note taking, making sure we document it, but also provide them with as much evidence as you can. There's leaflets, SMS messages, emails that's part of your practice management software, so that in the future we do audits, for example, right? So we have a podiatrist that sits there on a day every month that audits all of our podiatry notes, and there's different categories of things that she will look at. One of which is verbal consent. The other one is a treatment plan. There's loads of these things that we kind of look at. So it's just making sure really that all your ducks are in order in terms of educating that patient.
I hope you don't mind me adding on to that as well. Not so much MSK related, but I see quite a lot of patients in my clinic when I'm as an apprentice, for example, with fungal nails, and they've come back massive, problems. They painful, and just like they hate the appearance, feel very low about it, and they say, I've already tried the nail lacquers and they didn't work. But actually, when you dig a bit deeper, it wasn't really explained how the treatment works, and thus why the patient is supposed to use it in a certain way over a certain amount of time. And actually, when I've explained, obviously in a patient-friendly way, that actually the fungus likes to eat the nails, so if we can stop it and then grow it out and cut it off and continue to do that till it's gone, hopefully it should, come to some kind of solution. And often it's just kind of explaining things like you're saying, and people actually understand it, and sending them those links like to the NHS website, for example, that in a very patient friendly way explains what the condition is and why they've gone to see the podiatrist or why they might have been referred for another service. And I think keeping people in the light and out of the dark helps to show them that actually we do care and we don't think whatever it is that's going on is in their head, because like you say, there's nothing worse, even as a clinician, being a patient, being told I think it's in your head, and you're like, oh my God, it's not. It's so frustrating, isn't it?
I mean, when I said that, I'd never say that to a patient, but I think it's just keeping that in your own, like the way you communicate to the patient, because obviously that pain is so important to them that they've thought, I'm going to take a day off work, or I'm going to go just to like think I've got that confidence to say. I think it's just interesting, like how it goes about with your prescribing and like delivering the news or delivering how the treatment's going to work out.
Yeah, and that reassurance that, you know, as a clinician, I can see why you've made those steps yourself, and you know why, you know, the theory behind that, and whilst we might not have recommended that for these reasons, I can completely understand why you thought that would work. So, you know, good on you for having a go, and let's maybe have a go at this one in the meantime.
It's difficult though, isn't it, Lucy? I think what you're underpinning there simply is communication. And the vast majority of complaints, certainly that we get in clinic, because every clinic gets complaints, it's how you respond to it, how you deal with it, but also what you learn from it as well, which defines you as a clinic or as a practice. But communication underpins absolutely everything. If the majority of issues that we get escalated to an informal or a formal complaint, could have been really managed by just clear, simple communication right from the word go.
I'm not sure if what time are we going on to, because I might have to dip out 5 minutes early, if that's okay with everybody.
That's fine.
That's fine. I haven't got any more questions.
Yeah. So I think we're going to be. Thank you, Liam, for getting on the show.
Michael said, "Let's wrap it up."
Questions. Yeah. So thank you, Liam. Thank you for coming onto the show.
Yeah. Thank you very much for inviting me.
And what we'll do is we're just going to show a video of the past winners from 2022, and we'll see you all. We've got another show in 2 weeks with Zoe versus Liam. And you two are going to be talking about traditional versus minimal invasive surgery. And then our next show will be on the 11th of April, where we talk about apprenticeships versus bachelors of science of podiatry, and also masters podiatry as well. So now we're going to look at the past award winners of 2022. Thank you, Michael.